The Lebbyists were going crazy about it, going, oh my God, they're showing Lucy Letby in her pyjamas being arrested. It's like, okay, well,
Not our Lucy.
I don't care about her.
Embarrassing her like that.
Had gone from 300 million to 750 million. So more than doubled. £750 million spent by local authorities on just social care for asylum seekers.
They did a modelling study, and said, well, it would have been even higher had it not been for minimum pricing. Therefore, we are going to press release this as minimum pricing cuts deaths in Scotland from alcohol by 13%, even though they actually went up by 25%.
Hello and welcome back to Last Orders. I'm Tom Slater, editor of Spiked, joined as I am in every single episode by Chris Snowdon from the IEA. How are you doing, Chris?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
As always, we're also delighted to welcome Anne Strickland from the TPA. How are you doing, Anne?
Very well, thanks for having me on.
Not at all. We've got plenty to talk about today. We're going to talk about Labour's war on the fun police, which presumably means it's war on itself. We're going to talk about...
It's a civil war.
Exactly. The Welsh film that couldn't be filmed in Wales because of the smoking ban. We're going to talk about some TPA research about the asylum system and the impact it's having on social care. And we're going to have a bit of a blockbuster edition of Lucy Letby Corner from
Much to discuss,
Chris. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind everyone, if you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another Spike video. If you're listening to this on your favourite podcast app, give us a follow, give us a glowing 5-star review. That's how we reach new people and how more people find out about the show. So Chris, to kick things off, should we talk about Labour? There was a story in The Sun saying that they were ready to take on the fun police because apparently people aren't allowed to watch The Traitors in a pub or something like that. Now, given all of the very illiberal and not particularly fun policies they've been pushing through of late, this headline might have struck people as a little bit odd. But do you want to tell us a bit about this?
Seems a bit
story?
rich, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For
just
Labour
a
to
little
be
bit.
declaring war on the fun police. This is an announcement which we'll probably never hear any more about, I suspect, like quite a few Labour announcements, from Steve Reid, who I think is one of the better people in the government. And maybe he may well be sincere. He seems to have been triggered, of all things, of all the liberal policies that we've suffered under for the last 20 odd years. The red line seems to be that pubs are not watching Traitors finale, or not showing the Traitors finale because of some licensing restrictions. So he said, "This enough is enough. I want to watch the Traitors finale in a pub like a normal person.
Must
I'm not
have
going to
been
watch
his
it at
local
home."
pub.
I suspect so. So, ministers are declaring war on the fun police who use red tape to stop neighbours throwing street parties or watching the Traitors at the pub. Then we got some quite legitimate complaints here. Schools have scrapped fundraising raffles because they have to register as lotteries and pay cash up front. Council flats across the country ban children from playing ball games in their own communal gardens. And pubs have even been barred from hosting watch-alongs of the Traitors. Or, more importantly, I'd say, showing football because of complicated licensing laws. So Steve Reid has said, we are not going to let the fun police stand in the way of karaoke nights, watching the big match at the pub with your mates, or coming together to watch the Traitors on a big screen. So
It's the only way to watch it.
This is, by the way, not the last time we've mentioned the Traitors today in this episode, because it's gonna come up in another item. I haven't got a lot to say about this other than it seems to me epic gaslighting. Indeed, was followed only a day later by some announcement from the government that there's too much sugar in tomatoes. Basically, they're saying that the food industry need to reformulate their products because although they've removed added sugar, there's still intrinsic sugars from fruits and vegetables, and it's not good enough. So food companies take that sugar out of tomatoes in your tomato soup.
Given with one hand, taken away with the other.
Well, taking away multiple times with the other, and talking about giving back with one hand briefly in The Sun. I don't think anything's going to come of this. I did on Twitter volunteer, Steve, if you're watching, listening, and you are serious about a bit of deregulation, getting rid of the fun police. I know where the bodies are buried. I can do the job for you. I'll do it pro bono. DM me.
You could be a czar of some sort.
Yeah, I could be the anti-fun police czar.
There we go. Please get in contact, Steve Reid. We know you're watching. And what did you make of this story?
Well,
Are you convinced by this crusade for fun?
Absolutely not. It'd be great if they actually did do something about tackling the amount of regulation, but it's entirely performative. They know what people want, but they're not going to give it to them. And I think particularly going after pubs and saying, oh, well, you're doing really bad things, you're not showing the Traitors, whatever it is, sort of with one hand saying, we'll make it easier for you, we'll try and reduce the regulation on you. The other hand, hitting them with taxes, business rates, increasing alcohol duty. Pubs are already towing the line, right? It's incredibly hard. You see across the country pubs closing. And so it makes complete sense as to why they are going above and beyond to follow all of the regulation that's in place at the moment. Licensing laws, whatever it is, they cannot risk having their licenses taken away. If they host a big street party and they have the police come around and say, you've broken your licensing laws, we're going to take your license away, it's done for them.
Or the traitors finale, more importantly.
Traitors finale, yeah.
Which is what real pubs are about.
Yes.
I like the traitors, but it's just weird that that's their thing. That
It's very odd.
triggered them.
That's the
new
thing that gets them
adolescence,
into action.
Because it's the drinking really that's fun in a pub, I would say.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of anything to do with alcohol, is there? In fact, they're talking about banning smoking outdoors and banning vaping indoor pubs. I liked Farage's policy on pubs. Did you see that this week? He wants to
slash beer duty.
slash business rates on pubs, do a couple of other sort of tax cuts for pubs, all of which is going to be paid for by reintroducing the 2-child benefit cap.
Perfect.
Absolutely sound idea, very based.
We need.
Yeah.
There we go. And how is the business rates thing going to work out, Chris? Because there's been a lot of prognostications that this is a kind of final nail in the coffin. There has been this relief package. It doesn't seem to have gone far enough. Do you think the pubs are still going to be a big story this year in terms of just more of them closing at a rate of knots than we've seen before?
I think so. I don't know. I've lost track of where we even are with business rates. There's so many U-turns from this government that it's really hard to know what has actually happened. Has it even come in yet? I don't know what the package is. They just shouldn't have done it in the first place, should they, really? But on the other hand, if you want to play devil's advocate, they're only actually bringing it back, or they're only talking about bringing it back to pre-COVID levels. And obviously a lot of pubs saying it should have been cut then, but it wasn't like the desperately, severe emergency that they're talking about now. So I don't know. But I do know around here in London, they'll carry on charging £7.50 a pint.
£10 pints in our future.
So, Chris, should we turn to Wales now?
The large mammals or the country?
No, the country. There has been a pretty comical story, which is that because of the smoking ban, they weren't able to film this Welsh horror film in Wales itself, so they had to film it in England. Do you want to tell us a bit more about this and what you think it reveals about the unhappy nanny state of Wales at this point?
Well, it reveals that things are even worse in Wales than in England.
Mm-hmm. So it could be worse.
They've got minimum pricing in Wales, which, again, this week, the Welsh government voted to increase by 30%. The minimum price is going up from 50p to 65p, I think, which is what they did in Scotland. In Scotland, as in Wales, there was a sunset clause, 5-year sunset clause. They said, if this doesn't work, we'll repeal it. Don't worry. We're all about evidence-based policy. And it didn't work in Scotland. And it didn't work even more, obviously, in Wales. And the evaluation, which tried very hard to make it look like it worked, was like with a nod and a wink, was saying this didn't work. Let me, in fact, read you. I know we're getting slightly off topic. I'll get back to smoking in a minute. But let me read you this report from the BBC, which I like to think was filed with a wry smile by whoever wrote it. Now, just pay attention here to the dates involved. So the minimum pricing in Wales came in 2020. Independent research commissioned by the Welsh government, that's these people in Sheffield who get all these commissions to model minimum pricing and say it works, suggests a policy could prevent, this is the policy being increasing the bloody price to 65p, suggests a policy could prevent more than 900 alcohol-related deaths over 20 years and reduce the number of harmful drinkers by nearly 5,000. The policy was introduced in Wales in 2020, and the price increase follows a public consultation, which they ignored everybody who said don't do it. Public Health Wales figures show between 2019 and 2023, there was a rise of more than 50% in alcohol-related deaths. So it's obviously worked, and let's make it work even more.
Think of how much higher that number would have been.
That's exactly the argument they use. I mean, I'm not.
See, I was joking, but I was
I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
That is what they did in Scotland. They did a modelling study, and said, well, it would have been even higher had it not been for minimum pricing. Therefore, we are going to press release this as minimum pricing cuts deaths in Scotland from alcohol by 13%, even though they actually went up by 25% or whatever it was. Incredible stuff. On the smoking thing, Wales brought in its smoking ban a few months before England. Wanted to, want to beat us on that. They're very proud, these devolved governments, in being more nanny state than the rest of the UK. And the English legislation, which had already been drafted by then, made very, very few exemptions, but one of the few exemptions was if you are on stage and your character has to be a smoker, they can smoke a real cigarette, basically. And Wales, just imagine the frisson of excitement. It must have given some Welsh bureaucrat or politician to, we'll strike that out. Won't be any smoking of any kind anywhere indoors in Wales. And the chickens are coming home to roost, because this is not the first time Wales has lost money from filmmakers because they can't smoke. The Welsh government did say, we've got these e-cigarettes that look just like cigarettes. You can use them instead. I don't think that's going to work, is it? Maybe on a stage you could get away with that.
Yeah.
Film, it's a lot of close-ups in films. Mm-hmm. Quite obvious if you are smoking something that is, getting smaller and burning rather than some of those go like that, So, tough luck. Wales, serves you right.
Quite. What do you think about it, Sam? Especially the way in which the devolved government seem to be so much more crazy on these topics than even central government.
Well, see, I was at university in Edinburgh, and I saw firsthand the effects of things like minimum pricing, and also in Scotland the cut-off time for being able to buy alcohol, 10 p.m. cut-off, and what us students would do, we'd run to the shops at sort of 10 to 10 and buy as much as we needed for the night, buy more than we needed, and then you'd feel like, we've got to drink it now.
Yeah, exactly. Unintended consequences.
Is that your excuse?
Well,
got to drink it. It won't.
Got to
keep.
drink it. It's not going to keep
till tomorrow.
But with this case in Wales, I think you mentioned that they suggested using e-cigarettes that look like cigarettes. Another suggestion that they put forward was, you could just CGI a cigarette in.
Yeah, that's much simpler, isn't it?
Much simpler. That makes so much more sense. And the film company turned around and like, this is a really small endeavor. We don't have the funds to do that. We don't have the money to have a CGI department to CGI in this fake cigarette. Much cheaper to just buy cigarettes and smoke them.
They could have made the character a non-smoker, I suppose, to be fair.
Well,
I can't imagine he was that essential to the role, was it? I don't know.
Whose side are you on this, Chris?
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate. The fact of the matter is, it looks cool to be smoking.
It looks cool.
They didn't want to risk losing viewers.
The film company said it was an important plot point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it? May well be.
Also, if you're filming a feature-length film in Wales, it's probably not got the biggest budget. I dare say there's a correlation between those. You ever seen a Hollywood blockbuster set in Swansea?
You'd be surprised. There might
Are
be
they
all
going to be able to
sorts of
afford that
films.
CGI budget?
I don't know. There's probably more films filmed in Wales than you know. I don't know. Sorry, I'm being argumentative again.
No, it's good. We need a little bit of disagreement on this.
Can I just say on the... sorry, have you finished?
Go ahead.
Because there is an exemption for smoking in a theatrical production, I've always wondered whether we could do something which I believe was attempted in some part of America back in the day when smoky bans came in, which is pubs say, tonight, this pub is host to a theatrical production, an interactive theatrical production.
Called Into the Tabs or something?
No, called Before the Ban. Yeah. And you are all actors, participants in this piece of, modern theatre. And what we want to do, the stage is this area here, the entire floor of the pub, in fact. And you are all playing people who were pub goers before the ban came in. Could you get away with that? I've never bothered to read the legislation to see.
Says the expert.
No, it's always been. I mean, imagine if that was the ultimate way to get around it.
See, I think that would be one of the cases where you get away with it once and then they
change the law.
Like
with Mandelson's peerage, they rush to close that little loophole down.
It would cause a similar level of political
It's
consternation.
worth a go, though, isn't it? Why can't we do it here? Why can't we say
That's a really good point, actually.
We're doing a theatrical performance of sorts, aren't we?
I think we get away with that. But it'd be like a test case.
Yeah.
So we could crowdfund for it. We get a load of people together, convince a pub to let us do it.
Pay the fine.
To lock the doors if the police show up. So if anyone wants to help us out with
the idea. If anybody wants to run with that, don't look for legal advice elsewhere.
We will fight it all the way to the Supreme Court.
I'll come along. Put it that way. I'll come along.
Well, unless there's any more on Wales and its crazy smoking rules. And should we turn to you in this piece of research that the Taxpayers Alliance has put out recently about another crazy knock-on effect of our out-of-control asylum policy, particularly focusing on social care? Do you want to tell us about the kind of headline numbers and insights you found here?
So we had a paper out beginning of this week looking into asylum seeker social care costs in local authorities and comparison between what they were in 2019 and what they are in 2024-25. And headline figure had gone from 300 million to 750 million. So more than doubled, £750 million spent by local authorities on just social care for asylum seekers. Now, a big part of that is social care for children. So 600 million of that 750 million is social care for children within asylum-seeking families and unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. That's at about 280 million and 320 million each. And then the other factor in that is 130 million, 135 million on adult asylum seeker social care, which has gone up by 165% since 2019. So all of these three categories have risen dramatically. But the issue is that it's not, obviously, the fact that we're spending this amount of money, vast amounts of money, it's on top of what the Home Office is spending on hotels, which is obviously the big headline thing, news grabbing. It's been in the news a lot. But this is another cost on top of that. But the issue is local authorities don't have a choice about the spending because they have statutory duties placed upon them by Westminster that even if, as is the case with Kent County Council, they are the council with the highest amount of social care spending for asylum seekers because they have the majority of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. They come straight into Kent on the small boats crisis. As soon as they set foot in Kent, they become the legal responsibility of the council, and the council has to spend money to look after them. Now, with Kent County Council in the last local elections, there was a reform councillors that came in, voted in on a mandate to try and address the asylum seeker crisis and try and get spending down and cut costs and start fixing potholes, start picking up bins, maybe start reducing council tax. What Kent County Council has found is the statutory obligations that they have no control about. They have no control over their budgets because they are open-ended obligations. They keep going up. As soon as children step in and the rate of children is going up, there's more and more children each day, they keep having to spend money and they have no control over their budgets.
And not exactly flush local authorities.
They are
at this
not
point.
exactly flush. No, local authorities across the country are finding that they have no money because it's not just statutory obligations for asylum-seeking social care. It's also broader social care obligations, which is why across the country, local authorities are putting council tax up.
And these legal obligations have been something which have bedeviled the whole discussion. Like even with the hotels, when the Epping hotel was being fought in court, that was the key argument, is that we have this legal obligation to house them somewhere to stop them falling into destitution, and therefore we have to put them up here regardless of what the local authority or the local MP or even government ministers say about it. So what a mess. Chris, have you got any thoughts or questions about this particular bit of research?
Well, when I think of social care, I always think of nursing homes and the elderly. I don't so much think of kids, but obviously that's an aspect of it. I mean, I've got less of a problem with the kids coming over on small boats than I do the young men, I have to say. So, yeah, this might be costing us a lot of money to look after the kids, but we've got so many doctors, engineers and so on. The adults
all comes out in the wash.
Paying a lot high rates of tax. Working hard, it's probably a wash, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the children thing, that you feel it's not that big of a deal having these children.
Well, I feel a lot more sympathetic.
You feel a lot more sympathetic.
Not all of them will actually be children, though.
Exactly.
To be fair.
That's the thing, is you have these people crossing the channel who are throwing their documents away. And
what social care do they need if they're actually 25?
If they're actually 25, but they're claiming they're under 18.
Well, what do they get special that an actual 25?
They get a lot higher levels of care. If you come over as an adult, the levels of social care that you get are minuscule in comparison.
Get to go in a hotel.
Get to go in a hotel, sure.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Whereas a fake child gets what?
they will get vast levels of support. They'll obviously get access to education, health, everything. They will be in care homes. Everything that we spend on looking after children in this country who in the care system, the full sort of package to raise those children to adulthood. And it's not just once they've hit 18, they have support up until the age of 25. So they will, if they want to go to university, they'll have support through university.
Oh, really?
Whatever support they need to then become supposedly functioning members of society.
Doctors,
that's the
engineers,
goal.
etc. Yeah.
They have the level of support. And it's the fact that they have, councils have the legal obligations to provide that. But as Tom mentioned, it's 20% of channel crossings are children. Right?
Children.
One in 5 is children.
Yeah.
Now, 20% of that 20% is found out to not be children. And those are the people that we can prove that they have claimed to be under the age of 18 and they're not.
Right.
Now, obviously, I think there is a matter of, for the children that are in it, you don't want to take away support. It's quite a cruel policy. As you said, there is sympathy for those children. But to me, the way to deal with this is it has to be central government who are placing these obligations on the councils, taking responsibility for it and paying for it.
I've got a better idea. You know those height things that you have before you go on a roller coaster? Rather than ask people how old they are, just see how tall they are.
Just measure it purely on height.
If you are below this height, you can claim benefits, but you can't go on roller coasters.
So the incentives line up perfectly in that situation.
Yeah.
They're thinking to themselves.
Just do it on the basis of height. You know, when we say children, we mean, we've had this discussion before on this podcast.
What is this in the trial?
16 and 17. No. 16 and 17-year-olds aren't children. You know, when Wayne Rooney was playing for Everton at the age of 16, no one said, "Oh, look at that child. He's scoring a hat-trick in the Premiership." It's not a child. Everything should be 16 across the board. Smoking, gambling, drinking, and being a bloody child refugee should all be 16. And in the case of asylum seekers, should be height-based.
What if they're just older but short, Chris? What if they're older but just a bit short?
Well, there's always going to be edge cases. We'll deal with them, on a case-by-case basis.
Well,
I think we've solved that one.
No, exactly. No one can say we haven't got the solutions here.
I think it's time to take a mosey onto Lucy Letby Corner.
I think it is. Talking about thorny cases.
Lucy Letby Corner.
Chris, there's a lot to talk about in Lucy Letby Corner this week.
You bet your ass.
There's Esther Ranson, there's a Netflix documentary, there's
Yes.
Dean Doris piping up once again about Letby. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Esther. Everyone likes hearing from Esther, who was given weeks to live about 10 years ago, far as I can see. But God bless her for living with lung cancer longer than anybody in history. She's not very popular with a lot of people because the older sister died, I think. Let's not get into that. But she's now taken up the cause of Lucy Letby, which has some wag on Twitter said shows that Ranson is happy for people to be bumped off at either end of life. But she wrote an article.
Nothing if not consistent.
She wrote an article for the Sunday Times. It has a hell of a start. The first paragraph of this, let me read you.
Please.
Now, I mentioned that the traitors was going to return, didn't I, in this episode?
You teased
So
this
here we
particular
go.
detail. Yeah.
Everyone's obsessed with the traitors. Like millions of others, Esther writes, I avidly watched the BBC series The Traitors. Not because it was entertaining, quite the reverse, because it was so serious. It showed that even retired police officers could not tell the difference between those who tell the truth and those who lie. It showed that fragments of evidence can be lost and overwhelmed by gut feelings and herd instinct. And it prompted in me the thought that we urgently need to re-examine the case of Lucy Letby.
That's a leap.
So that's how she's got on board the Letby bandwagon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the traitors, but a lot of the traitors is people being rather naive and not spotting obvious signs that somebody is guilty. You could say it works either way, It in general just shows that people are not very good at telling when someone's lying or not, and taken in by fairly superficial things like being relatively young and blonde and seeming quite normal, but in actual fact you're a ruthless liar, or by analogy, a serial killer. So anyway, Esther, for some reason, has gone on board. She wrote a kind of boilerplate, here's the reason I think she might be innocent kind of thing. Hitchens, of course, has been carrying on. Nadine Dorris has been in a frenzy of activity about this. She's been on every TV program going, writing articles. I used to be a nurse. I think Letby's innocent. This is all because Netflix have a new documentary out.
So it all ties together.
I think it must be. I mean, she has a PR company working for her, Molten PR, who put out a tweet a week ago celebrating, boasting, in fact, about the fact that they'd got front page coverage on The Sun. In that instance, it was a retired copper, who had caught Beverly Allett, another murderous nurse. And he reckons now that Letby's innocent, even though he said at the time of her conviction that it's just like Beverly Allett, so many parallels and all this. So yeah, the Lebbyists have been all over the place trying to sort of spike the documentary. And I couldn't understand why they were so nervous about this documentary, because most of the documentaries have been either very even-handed or actively pro-Letbyist. The Channel 5 ones and the ITV one was incredibly pro-Letbyist. And there was nothing in the trailer that suggested that this was going to be any different. Anyway, it is actually quite good. And if I'm saying that, I suppose they think it is kind of anti-Letbyist. But I mean, it's 90 minutes long, and they give the Lebbyists a good crack of the whip. They get the last half hour pretty much to themselves. I thought it was quite a balanced documentary, probably the best one that's been made yet. Got some new footage in it, which is quite interesting to people like me. So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's called The Investigation of Lucy Letby on Netflix. But yes, there's been a lot of activity. Letby's parents have come out of the woodwork for the first time, saying we're not happy with Netflix for showing our house on TV.
Oh yeah, there was some footage, wasn't there? That was
There's a lot of
Body
footage.
cam footage or?
Body cam footage, yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that. I mean, the Lebbyists were going crazy about it, going, oh my God, they're showing Lucy Letby in her pajamas being arrested. It's like, okay, well,
not our Lucy.
I don't care about her feelings,
Embarrassing her
really.
like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a bit kind of pointlessly voyeuristic, I thought. And so the Mama and Papa Letby were saying, this is not fair. We have to live in this house. We're going to have ghouls coming round. And I don't know if they will or not. I think they should just charge people a tenner to have a look around the bedroom.
Well, the kind of
Stuff
attention
like
they're going to attract from the obsessives is people wanting to lay flowers, pay their respects to Letby. So I think it
Yeah, that's true.
we won't get the kind
yeah,
of...
so just charge them at the door and say, come on in. We'll
Is that, hello, Peter, nice to see you again.
guided tour, yeah. Hello, Nadine. Good, nice to see you again. So yeah, look, it's been very busy and shows no sign of slowing down. I said, I think 2 weeks ago that this is probably going to be a fallow period, but of course, no. Like the day after Netflix announced it was going to be a documentary. Any opinion about Letby?
Not an awful lot, but on the traitors point, I think it's
Well, that's what people really care about.
Exactly.
it's
That's what
quite
this episode's
silly
really about.
to base your opinions on a criminal case based on a TV show, particularly on the fact that the traitors is not evidence-based. No. They're not making those decisions to vote out traitors based on any real evidence. It's all vibes.
It's gut
based.
instinct.
It's gut
It's a hunch,
instinct.
and then they all go with the flow, which is exactly what Esther Ranson's doing now, as far as I can see.
Absolutely. And I don't know an awful lot about the Lucy Letby case. I'm afraid I'm one of those people that's been living under a rock about it. But I think it's a matter for just letting the criminal justice system do what the criminal justice system should do and look at the evidence, try her amongst a jury of her peers, and she was found guilty on the evidence presented to them. If there's new evidence that comes to light, maybe there is a case for reopening the case, but as it stands at the moment, she was tried, she was found guilty on the evidence. It's not vibes based.
So you're not impressed by the fact that 75% of Sun readers in non-aligned poll said that she was innocent? Because Pete Hitchens got very excited about that.
Yeah, the worm is turning. That's
Like the momentum is all with us now.
yeah.
Well, I think it's a matter of most people, myself included, don't know all of the facts, don't know all of the evidence. Even probably people within the courtroom didn't know all of the facts and evidence. But
Nobody saw her do anything, though. You ever thought about that? No one saw her do anything.
mm,
Unlike every other murderer in history.
Usually in broad daylight.
She did it
10
secretly.
witnesses. Yeah.
She did it in secret. Unbelievably devious.
yeah, well,
We do seem to live in the golden age of people making up their opinions based on television shows, though. So we've got
Mm.
traitors, adolescents. There must be a third one. You need a third one, otherwise it's not a trend.
Well, I think like
Right in.
all, Making a Murder and all these Netflix things about people being wrongly accused.
Yeah.
And like people binged on them during COVID, didn't they? And then COVID ended and the Letby case started quite soon afterwards.
They all want
And I think there's a connection.
sleuths.
I think people kind of got into this true crime. And don't get me wrong, I like a bit of true crime on Netflix. And Netflix is a home of true crime. And in a way, it's right that they're now doing Letby documentaries. But I think people were primed for a wrongful, conviction case. And it's almost as soon as COVID ended, this one began. And also, there's a clear connection between like the, anti-vax, anti-lockdown kind of extremists. It's just the flu type people. Immediately latched onto Letby. David Davis, Nadine Dorris, Peter Hitchens. It's the same cast and crew. That's
So there's
my
definitely a
theory.
connection there.
Speaking of having a theory,
Ooh.
Yeah, unless you've got anything else on Letby, we should turn to the theory section. We're still waiting on
quite
your...
good on the segues today.
No, exactly.
I should be
Everything's very
hosting
sweet.
this.
No,
Right?
exactly. I'm just here for the ride, really. You need to do your theme. You need to do the jingle for it as well. I'm holding you
I've
account.
got a theory. Oh.
Got to record it.
Well, it's not much different when I record it.
That's
is it
fair
really?
enough, actually. The production values leave a lot to be desired. But Anne, have you got a theory that you want to lay on
I
us here?
have a theory. Well, I have quite a few theories, but they keep being vetoed as op-ed ideas.
It's too conspiratorial. This is
We were talking on the way over about cyclists and all kinds of things, but I didn't actually share what my theory was, which is probably not a conspiracy theory. I think it's something you might agree with. But I've come into politics quite recently. I'm a naive 20-something with a hope to create a better Britain.
I'll be beating out you in time, Dorian. Listen.
Yeah. And it's people like me that are causing all of the problems. It's people that go into politics, particularly with pet projects. They've got a particular issue that they want to address. Could be smoking, could be drinking, could be things like the Online Safety Act. They've got a particular issue. Oh, my child has been watching pornography online, so we need to ban it. And it's that attitude that these people become civil servants, they become politicians, and every single problem that comes across their desk, they feel it's their job to solve, to create this utopia that they want to create. And I think that's part of the reason that we're in such a issue at the moment with over-regulation, over-exertion of state power, that it's people just wanting to create utopias. They want to make the world
A better place.
a better
You think
place.
the problem is people wanting to make the world a better place?
It's people being too,
Or is it people...
optimistic.
Is it generally that they are trying to make the world a utopia, or is it that they've got one thing? Is it the single issue aspect that you object to, or this is the general
Well, I think
hope in improving the lot of mankind?
the single issue aspect, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's inevitably we want to create the best world possible. I think all of us aspire to live in a good world, and inevitably we will disagree on what that looks like. But it's particularly the solving of issues that might come across their desk as particular pet project issues, that they are ideas that they have mulled on, they are issues that they have particularly campaigned on. They have been sort of activists prior to politics. And so they have got an entire catalogue of reasons why they want to address these issues. And they think the best way to address them is through more state involvement. And it's particularly...
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's not people like you who are the problem.
Well,
Because if you were in government, hopefully, you would have come up with a long list of things you want to repeal.
of course.
It's just there's not many people like you who want to get into politics.
No, but
That's really
my sort of peers who are hopeful young 20-somethings wanting to create a better world inevitably cause the problems down the line.
Yeah.
Gum up the system. But that's not particularly conspiratorial, I don't think.
Oh no, we're not.
No,
we're
it's
not
not
looking
at all.
for conspiratorial.
No, it's not even vaguely
Exactly,
conspiratorial.
It's good. That's what we're after. Also,
My
the
theory.
single issue people can often hop to another single issue, and those people are quite bad. You know, like all the Brexit lot seamlessly now gone into the Palestine thing. So hopping from one awful single issue to the other.
cause.
Yeah.
The omni cause is definitely a big issue.
It's whatever's trending.
Yeah, and whatever they have their own personal view of. Matt's old cousin, your great bet noir, started off as a single issue anti-gambling guy. Still is in some respects, isn't he?
Yeah, he just doesn't just want to get rid of fixed odd betting. He wants to get rid of gambling in general. Who would have seen that slippery slope coming?
Turn up for the books. Have you got a ban, Anne?
You are a dictator.
Well,
The banner?
seeing that I am from the Taxpayers Alliance, I thought I would do something more taxy. And what I would ban is publicly elected officials, public servants. I would ban them from saying that things are free when they are actually taxpayer funded. It's a massive problem, and it means that people don't actually realise what they are paying for. And I think quite an easy thing to sort out.
Have
It's a
we had
one-line
someone
bill.
from the TPA say that before? I was trying to think.
I don't think so.
I'm sure we had either William Yarwood or John O'Connell saying it was either that or they said we should ban politicians from describing spending as investment.
I can't
But it
remember.
was something
John's,
like that.
John's was a bit more whimsical. I think John's was about menus not having
Yes.
annoying words for like calling coleslaw slaw and things. He went
Yeah.
down a kind of culinary route. I can't remember what Will's was.
Yeah, he was. He
But-
went less on brand, and he was preaching the TPA message.
It's really cut loose to that
But
for, you know,
you're
5 or 10 minutes.
a true loyalist. so it is.
My non-TPA ban would
Oh, here we
be people holding cutlery incorrectly.
Mm.
Oh, really?
I do that all the
Annoys
time.
me to
What,
no
with
end.
the wrong hand, or just
So fork in the right
Well,
hand.
it's a correct way to hold cutlery.
Oh, we haven't got any cutlery.
No, exactly.
Can't demonstrate
unfortunately.
it.
Talk us through it. So obviously there's left and right, fork and
Yes.
knife, but we're also talking about
Absolutely.
positioning of the fork,
Got to be
not like
proper grip.
scooping, more like
Can't be
Yeah.
shoveling that food. You know.
Oh,
but-
I think I might fail.
That's
on
a
that.
result of my upbringing. My parents being quite strict on how I was holding my cutlery,
Are
and
you-
I'd like
are you
other
happy-
people to
Are
have
you
the same.
happy for someone to
spoon-
use a
spoon.
fork on peas in a spoon-like manner?
No,
No, you've got to
absolutely not.
prod at them.
Got to prod at them.
it's
God,
the
it'd
challenge
take
of trying
forever.
to get the peas on the fork though, which is what makes it interesting.
Well, you could do if you're having sort of
It's
peas
cold winter
and
night.
Challenge
mashed
to lance them as
potato
well.
together. It works quite well that you can use the mashed potato as sort of the glue for the peas.
What, to go in like that
No,
from
no, no,
above
no.
on
You
mash
put the
mashing
peas
peas?
on the mashed potato, and then you just scoop up the mashed potato.
You scoop
usually.
up?
Well, no,
In a
on,
spoon-like way?
on the back of the fork
On the back of the fork?
with the knife.
Okay, well, you're, I guess, quite posh. I can't endorse it
Okay.
as a man of the people.
Man of the people. Let them eat how they want to eat.
Chris
people
eats everything
decide.
with a spoon.
I will use a fork basically like a spoon. Yeah. Just shovel it in.
The way it should be done. But
I'm
yeah,
afraid.
stop saying
Quite
things.
uncouth.
Stop saying things are free. Use your cutlery properly, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Last Orders. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you never miss another spiked video. If you're listening to this on your podcast app, make sure you subscribe there and give us a glowing 5-star review. And if you'd like to get in touch with your questions or ban suggestions, email us at lastorders@spiked-online.com.